David, welcome to Goals with Soul.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and you know what? We were just talking about how anxiety is such a big deal when it comes to building a business. But I just want to preface this by saying I never thought that building my own business would take so much mindset and energetics in order to like have a successful business and feel happy running it. I just really thought, because I worked in corporate for like 20 years, I thought I could just jump out of that job and do this job. Like just show up, do the job. But what I hadn't realized is that actually doing the job means I have to define the job, I have to create the job, I have to like be fully there for it. And I know so many people listening are realizing, like I did, that actually when you're feeling anxiety, it can completely derail you. So, like, before we dive in, like, did you personally have a journey with anxiety, and what kind of made you get to this point now where you're focused so much on helping others to overcome this?
Yeah, my story starts when I was in my teens, and I experienced really, really intense anxiety in my teens and 20s. It was partially as a result of living situations, but also playing sports. Like I was driven into sports, and I experienced a lot of injury, quite a few concussions, and the culture of sport just wasn't fitting my nature of being, what I wanted out of life. And it just felt like it became so normal to me. I didn't really have a way out. So I ended up internalizing a lot of my life that I wasn't able to express and feel heard. So once I was in my 20s, I just spiraled. And it was a very deep, shocking, surprising experience of exhaustion and confusion and unable to concentrate and unable to have any energy. And so my journey, I was in a small town in Saskatchewan called Saskatoon. And back then, of course, in the early 90s, we didn't have the internet. So I turned what was the internet back then, the yellow pages, and I looked up wellness, and I found a yoga studio and I found a meditation group, and I joined them immediately. And I thought they were so outside of my normal experience. I was raised in a very different way. I didn't even know what the word yoga was. And I immediately experienced relief the first class I went to in both of those, in both yoga and meditation. And it set me on this journey of self-discovery. Like I'm still on that journey now and still reframing what this experience of anxiety and stress is and teaching it as a learning tool and constantly adapting and using the tools that I've learned to learn further and to let go of that grip that anxiety has had on my life. And so I had a long path. It involved a lot of different moments that were transformative for me, like going to a 10-day silent meditation retreat where I was meditating 11 hours a day and really focusing in on body sensations and realizing that everything is constantly moving. That was one of the biggest realizations for me, is to realize that nothing is ever permanent. And so that became it became a philosophy for me for life, realizing that nothing is ever solid. Even that tension that you feel, even though it feels like a hard ball in your belly that feels permanent, will be there forever, it's not. And so I started to see life that way and adapt to my life choices, my perspective according to that. And then, of course, I'm sure we'll talk about all of these things, but that fed into all of these different choices I made, leading to being an entrepreneur, to being a business leader, and then teaching others how to deal with their own daily anxiety.
Wow, I mean, that's some journey, and it's clearly one you've been on for an amount of time. And a few things really struck me. It's like, first of all, a silent retreat. I don't think I could do 11 minutes, let alone 11 days or 11 hours of meditation. I think that what you must have learned in that time, no wonder it was so profound and so different from the chatter and busyness of the mind and the mouth that we are constantly, within daily. And also, when you talked about sport, And you moved through it quite quickly, but I noted you said, just the culture of it was very jarring for you. And I'm paraphrasing you. It was like, and I was curious, was it the competitiveness of it? What was the culture that caused the anxiety in sport?
Yeah, it was, of course, is a result of the competitiveness, but the symptoms were more like bullying, were parents who were aggressive at games. It was hazing. When you join a team, often you go through an experience that is meant to be humiliating. And it's as much as we wish and believe that it should be more about being supportive and being a team and working together to accomplish goals, often it just is not like that within the team environment. And coaches back then, I had great coaches, but I also had coaches who were just did not have that emotional maturity to be coaches. So they would coach in a very traditional, aggressive, punitive way. And I think that I could safely say that I was born a very sensitive kid. And I just, because you normalize, like I normalized all of my experience growing up, like it was like there was nothing different. Like I couldn't have a different experience. And so I internalized it all and realized that, okay, this is the way life is. It's more aggressive than I want it to be. I don't feel like I can actually express myself in these environments because I don't think that anyone is going to listen. So through that experience, I just didn't feel like I had the emotional support to feel like I could thrive.
Yeah, I mean,
But it,
I haven't got much familiarity with, sport on that level, but I can completely understand how that can cause somebody to, certainly if they have an underlying propensity to anxiety, to completely exacerbate that. And to draw a parallel to some degree, when a lot of people join the industry, around coaching and the online coaching industry, of which, majority of us who listen into this are, within that industry. And it makes you realize that there's so many elements of the culture that can be really affronting and can cause quite a bit of resistance to wanting to show up, whether those are online haters, whether those are missed payments with clients, whether those are people who are kind of pushing you to market in certain ways. But what affects people most of all sometimes are those internal voices, that expectation, that achievement wound that says, do it faster, do it harder, be better, you're not good enough. Why didn't you make six figures? Why aren't you already at this stage? Why aren't you doing this? And I think that the pressures that we put on ourselves often cause us to feel more anxiety than we need to. And that's what really makes me interested in, how you found the solution to so much of that anxiety, first of all, through yoga and meditation. And why is it that, in your experience, those modalities are so successful?
oh, well, the starting point is that they teach you how to look within, to have to have the ability to be present with yourself. And through that, you can gain perspective. Like there's to gain the proper perspective on life that you can carry with you in every moment. That is so very crucial. Like a perfect example is if you don't, on a deeper level, you don't actually like yourself or love yourself or able to accept who you are, then it's going to be very hard to heal. So without seeing that, it's hard to start to let go of those habitual patterns that you constantly move through. With whenever any challenging situations arise, your perspective informs how you respond to them. If you believe that you're capable of anything, if you believe that you're a worthy human being, if you believe that you have the tools and the skills necessary to get through those challenging situations, then you will. That's the key. And so, especially with meditation, when I talk about the silent, I did actually did three of those. I'm a bit of a a masochist. I did 10 of those silent meditation retreats. So you're literally meditating 11 hours a day, not talking to anybody. So it's the entire experience is feeling, sitting with your stuff. And it's so uncomfortable. And all this stuff like intense boredom and all of these thought patterns that are like filling your brain all day, all of it is there. And you just have to sit with it all. So forcing yourself to experience who you are on a deep level is so incredibly powerful and rewarding. Like after every one, I felt like a completely changed person.
Wow, I mean, I'm sort of almost sitting in silence, stunned silence at this idea, because as you were speaking that, literally anxiety was rising in me. I was thinking, I already feel so uncomfortable. You know, I'm the kind of person that fills the gap in silence in a conversation because of the discomfort of leaving. Oh, I'd say that I've learned to sit with that 30 seconds. No, it's not even that. It's 3 seconds of silence, right? But because I'm aware that I constantly need to fill that, and that's going back to some anxiety and having that space. And I know that this isn't something unusual, and you must see this all the time, that we have such busy, overthinking, frenetic minds that anxiety is a natural byproduct of just the way we're kind of trained to think, that it's very hard to just be and be present. And you know, when you talk about it in that way, and you're like, oh, we just need to be present. And I love how you described, you know, every feeling of pain or discomfort or whatever is in movement. You know, it's not permanent, it's just the moment now, and it won't be the moment at some point soon. And I think that that's a really hard concept for most of us to grasp. Most of us are really enmeshed with the discomfort, the struggle, the pain, the thing that's here, and it feels like that's our identity to some degree. And you know, what do you see in the people that you work with and the way in which you work? Like, how do people move from what I've described to, you know, maybe not even close to where you're at with your 11 hours of meditation a day, but you know, getting into that place where you're able to manage anxiety so well that living the present is a reality?
Yeah, let's start by talking a little bit about what the common experience is for someone with chronic anxiety. Like what you are naming is common. Like it's just people experience it as it's a normal part of themselves. They don't, when you have chronic anxiety, it's like you can't imagine not having chronic anxiety because it's there when you wake up. It's there throughout the entire day. Of course, it increases and decreases, but it's almost always hyper active to a level that it feels like it's out of control. And so this affects every aspect of your life. It's hard to sleep, gives you stomach issues, it gives you a tight throat, jaw tension, headache, shortness of breath, racing heart, exhaustion, obsessive thoughts, the tension, always you have tension in your body. You feel guilt and embarrassed about things that you did in the past, nausea. And when it's really bad, people with chronic anxiety describe this experience of disassociation where it's like you actually lift out of your body, and it's a very freaky, shocking experience because the people with anxiety that is chronic, they don't want to feel it. And so they're constantly pushing away. They hate it. It's like, I don't want to feel this anymore. I want it to go away. I want it to go away. I want it to go away. And that makes you kind of separate from your body. Whereas we want the opposite. We want to sink in. The best thing you can do, even when you're overwhelmed, even when a panic attack is coming on, is to sink in and breathe. Those are the two key characteristics to always come back to whenever anxiety kicks in. And so the tendency is numbness, running away. And what we want to teach ourselves is to sit and feel. And when I talk about perspective, being the most important thing. If you're sitting and you're feeling that discomfort, but you still don't like yourself and you still want it to go away, and you still don't believe that it will ever go away, then you're just sitting and feeling it and you're not really creating change. But if you can sit and feel it and see it as a constantly changing force inside of you, even though everything about it is, your mind is telling you that this is permanent, this is you. We need to shift away from that and believe that it is not, and believe that all of these forces, even on the other side, joy, happiness, elation, all of these things are also forces that just move through us. So we have to believe that all of it is a package. So if we can sit and face the discomfort, face the most challenging moments of overwhelm, panic attack, intense anxiety, sit with it, feel it. Even when you're standing in line at the bank, we have these, you can learn skills to it and bring them into your life in every moment, no matter what you're doing. It doesn't have to be a yoga class or a meditation. It could be anything, washing the dishes, hanging out with friends. We can learn to treat our body and the energy and the forces we feel in them as constantly flowing and changing. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about this, but in my experience and with the research I've been doing, one of the most powerful ways to do that is pranayama. Because one of the most difficult things to do when you're experiencing chronic anxiety is to focus on anything. Concentration is impossible. Pranayama is not only effective at improving your concentration, it immediately makes you feel sensations in your body, and it's effective within minutes. It's crazy how powerful it is. The yogis who started experimenting with pranayama 2,000 years ago saw it as one of the most transformative experiences that you can possibly have.
Tell us a little bit about what it is as well.
Yes, so pranayama is breathing techniques, and there are hundreds of varieties. And the essence of breathing is that, and we don't really understand why, but when you breathe more deeply and you sustain that for a long period of time, even 5 minutes, you start to feel these interesting changes happening in your body and your mind. Your sensations become more acute. You start to feel vibration. You start to feel your body in a more sensitive way. You start to feel a pulse. You start to feel energy rising up. There's a term in yoga called a kundalini rising or a kundalini experience. What's happening is the prana, or the energy in your body, is getting stimulated. Pranayama actually means manipulating energy, body energy. So the simple act of deepening your breath or quickening it or slowing it down, they all have different effects. They affect your nervous system and the energy movement in your body in a certain way to calm or activate. And you can use this to achieve a lot of different things. Like there are athletes who are using it before a game. There are mathematicians who are using it, or students who are using it before an exam.
I mean, there's people like Wim Hof who are diving into like extreme cold just using breath, right?
That's right. Yeah. So you can increase your body temperature and sustain it for a long period of time. Wim Hof got that from Tibetan monks who were in the mountains, and they would actually sustain their body temperature in frigid temperatures in the mountains in the snow. It's incredible to even think about the possibilities that your breath can achieve for you, but it's completely radical what it can do.
I mean, I've had my own experiences with Kundalini breath. I've been on workshops and weekends, and I can say absolutely transformative some of the ways that I felt afterwards. And I do breathwork facilitation, but I would say it's different. You know, some people who join my breathwork sessions will have a great experience, but it's a set time and we come along and we might already be in a calm state, and we're doing it to invite intuition and, you know, various different things that type of breathing can do. what's really interesting to me about, the way you're talking about it is that when we're in moments where we might feel anxiety, when we're really heightened, we've kind of got a choice to now do pranayama, do some of the breathing that could help calm our nervous system again. And that's where I see a lot of people really struggle, because when we're kind of in a heightened state, it's hard to make good decisions. We kind of want to resort to, some people will go into panic attack, others will lean into anger or aggression and, just find themselves very, very unregulated. My daughter suffers from anxiety, and I know whenever I sit with her and I'll be like, come on, focus on the breath, breathe. She's a young teen. She doesn't say, oh, sure, mum, great idea. She's like, no, it's not going to help. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, no, honestly, darling, this really will help you. And yet I don't think her belligerent teenage response is unique or unusual. I think as adults, we have our own way of going, I'm not doing it. This is who I am. I need medication. I need something. Or even more commonly, I need something external to me to change in order for me to feel more comfortable. If that person would stop behaving in that way, I could calm down. If the traffic would go, I could calm down. Always like something external needs to change. Or, in the case of a relationship, oftentimes, if you could just apologize or reassure me that everything's okay, I will calm down. Now, the reality is that in most cases, we can't rely on the external changing in order that we be regulated. And we have to do something inside. It's the inner work. So I'm like curious how you see people going from like finding it really hard to engaging with a technique like breathing to manage their anxiety, to finding that they can manage their anxiety almost flawlessly because they've got so used to that kind of that automated response when they start to feel anxious.
Yeah, to me, it comes down to radical honesty. And that, to me, that term encompasses everything. Like you were talking about, in different ways, you were framing the idea that you're a victim of your circumstances. And when I talk to people with chronic anxiety, one of the most common things they say is that I feel anxious all the time. I don't know why. I think I have a mental illness. And when you get to that place where you believe that it was something you were born with and it cannot be changed, then you're just putting yourself in a situation where it won't change. And so if you think of that framing in other perspectives as well, like you were saying, that someone else outside of you is causing it. So if you do not believe that you're the one who is guiding your experience ultimately, if you think that other people are doing it, then again, you won't be able to actually come out of it. So you need to, number one, own it, have radical honesty with yourself, own your own experience, understand that it is actually within your control. Even though it doesn't feel like it a lot, when you wake up and you have this high level of anxiety and you feel like you're about to have a panic attack and you ask yourself, why is this happening? It wasn't something that I did. So why would I go into an immediate panic attack the first moment I wake up? Understand that it is coming from you, and it is a lifelong path. Like it's not something that you do an exercise in the morning and you forget about it for the rest of the day and you do an exercise at night and then somehow that's going to cause a transformation. It has to be something that is actually a life change, life commitment that involves every moment of every day. You shift your perspective in a way that you're looking at things differently. Your belief system is different. In fact, what I like to envision is your primary objective is to completely dissolve the person who believes that the anxiety can't go away. Just get rid of that person and become someone new and see what that experience is like, and treat your anxiety like it's a teacher. Your anxiety is there to teach you a lesson in every moment. So you have to be there to listen always, and try things, be playful, make it fun, make life, you know, a crazy fun experience rather than something that bogs you down and makes you feel defeated.
Yeah, and how do you kind of build the yoga poses into all of that? Like I hear like the breathing and meditation, and I'm a massive fan of yoga. I used to see yoga as a competitive sport when I was busy doing hot yoga, which I then kind of learned really wasn't helping me. It was just kind of keeping me in that competitive state of mind. And now it's something that I'll do, you know, just for pure pleasure rather than, you know, trying to become good at yoga. And I'm like, obviously, not only are you a clear expert in yoga, but you help so many others to do similar. Like, what's the mission around the yoga? How has it impacted your journey through and beyond anxiety, and how you help others?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Do you, how long have you been doing yoga for?
Probably on and off about 10 years.
Okay. So you're aware of the chakra system and the energy system, the prana within you, and how all forms of yoga, the purpose is to actually get you to feel the energetic system inside of you and learn how to move the energy and sink in enough so that you're letting go and letting go and letting go and just feeling. So hatha yoga, the physical part of it, the primary purpose is to open up the physical part of your body. So you mentioned stretching, you release the physical holding within your body. And the more you can release the physical holding, the more the energy can just move through you. It's also a very grounding experience. And if you're incorporating the breath, the nervous system also calms down. So I mean, in our society, I think everyone can relate to the fact that there's a constant onslaught of information. And we're kind of drawn to that as humans. We need to offset that with quiet and stillness. And so the physical part of it, I see it as a gateway to the deeper stuff. And so if you have a really busy mind, one of the best things you can do is a vinyasa practice, something that's really fast and energizing and kind of matches your energy. If you're someone who's a little bit more lethargic, then you do a restorative class that helps you sink into your body and feel and relax. And it's all about self-discovery. The more you do that hatha yoga practice, the more you'll be able to realize, wow, this part of my body's tight. I'm going to do that pose more often, or I hold here a lot more than I hold here, or I'm more flexible in this part of my body, so I need more strength there. And then you understand how to balance parts of your body and align them in a way that makes you feel light and relaxed and like your joints have space. And that allows you not only to feel good, but also to prevent all of these aging situations like joint problems and back problems.
Oh gosh, so true. And just note to self, go to yoga more often, right? Because
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
you know, I think for a lot of us, yoga is like, oh, you know, I'll go to yoga once in a while and it's enjoyable. But I do remember when I was doing it more regularly, how I actually felt the benefits of doing yoga rather than it was nice to get out of the house for an hour and do a bit of stretching, you know, actually seeing the progress that you get when you do attend regularly, and you're actually finding yourself getting more flexible, finding yourself feeling more calm, finding your body feeling stronger because you can do poses that you couldn't do before, you know, these kinds of things. So, you know, I really respect the work you're doing there. It's really powerful. So if somebody kind of wants to get into finding new ways to reduce their anxiety and to, get into a place where they're better able to manage daily challenges. And, I love how you said earlier, feeling lethargic. And sometimes we think of anxiety as a heightened state, but actually, when we're in that like fight and flight all the time, that lethargy and exhaustion is definitely something I hear people talk about all the time. And I'm no stranger to it. That idea that you're just so tired and having to push yourself through a day and through, the challenges of building a business and everything. And from a inspired action perspective, what could somebody do today, tomorrow, in an hour or so or less, that they could start to really appreciate the benefits of your work?
Yeah, because for most people with anxiety, motivation is difficult. I'm the founder of a website where our purpose is to help people through the content that we create. We create content on like yoga classes, meditation, Pilates, Tai Chi, Qigong, a lot of different yoga styles. And so you can actually go right to our website and we have styles and focuses that you can choose from. All you need to do is choose anxiety. I believe it's called stress anxiety relief. And we have loads of classes with different ranges, different teachers, anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour long. And then just do it. Just choose a class that, the name and the description call to you and do it. One of the things I like to recommend, if you already know that motivation is hard for you, choose a time, stick with that time, and then do everything you can to make it easier for you to press play. So for example, if I chose 7 a.m. tomorrow, I would already know where the location would be in my house. I would have the mat unrolled already. I would have my laptop set up. I would have all the gear I needed for that class. I would have my yoga clothes right beside my bed. So literally I would wake up, put my yoga clothes on, sit down, press play. If I knew I wanted a drink of water, it would already be there. Everything. Just think out every need that you have it all set up so that it's as easy as possible to start that class. As well, we have programs. So if you go to our programs and challenges pages, you'll see that we have a lot of great content that basically take you through anywhere from 7 days to 2 months, and you follow the program. So it gives you a class for day 1, it gives you a class for day 2 or day 3, whatever the program is. And so that makes it dead easy to know what to do. And then finally, I have a 21-day program. It's called Let Go of Anxiety and Fear. And it is a fantastic program for those who are just finding that they're struggling with daily chronic anxiety. I've taken the perspective of drilling down to the common thought patterns that people with anxiety live with and coming up with ways to think about all of those normal tendencies that we have and start to shift them into more positive, productive, and solution creating thought patterns. And it's really, I've received a lot of great feedback. I have a few video testimonials on that page that you can watch. And it's a great way to just completely figure out how to shift your mindset around your daily experience of anxiety.
Awesome. And we're going to put the links to those websites in the show notes. If people want to check you out in social media or online, David, where's the best place for them to find you?
I have a personal website. It's my full name, davidprocyshyn.com. And you can find me on Facebook as well under my name, David Procyshyn. And then so the website we were talking about, Do Yoga With Me, we have an Instagram page at Do Yoga With Me. We have a Facebook page, we can put that in the show notes too. And we have a YouTube channel as well. And we can just put that link in the show notes too.
Awesome. Thank you. All the places.
Yeah, there you go.
David, thank you so much for joining me today on Goes with Soul. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Joanna. It was a really fun conversation. I appreciate it.